Hi, welcome. Not made a video for a while. We're back to school now, so we'll be doing quite a few to keep up. Now, the first thing we need to learn how to do is how to use a knife correctly. And a great way of doing that is to make a soup. And we're going to make a minestrone soup today. Some really important things you have to remember about minestrone soup: that every piece of the vegetables and the pasta that's in the soup has to fit on the soup spoon, which means you have to learn to cut your vegetables in a very sort of decorative and miniature way. So it's a really good way to learn some skills. So I'm going to get cracking with it now. So let's get onto the board and start going. Okay, so the first thing we're going to have to deal with is a tomato, because in the recipe it has chopped tomato. We always remove the skin, and people say to me, oh, that's very complicated, why do we do that? But in cookery we see the skin as being the wrapper. Unfortunately, people have got a little bit confused and then feel that they have to wrap things again, like cucumbers in plastic, tomatoes in plastic bags. You don't need it, because we don't need to eat the skin of these things. They're to protect it. And how do we get the skin off? Well, the first thing you do, you take your tomato and you cut a cross in the top of it. Simple as that. And then we plunge that in boiling water and for about 5 minutes, because we're not cooking it, and then the skin becomes very wrinkly. So you take it out of the boiling water, then put it into some cold water, and you can see the cross allows you to then take the skin off, just like that. Just like that, really easy. It looks a little bit like a jellyfish, quite decorative, and we get rid of that. That's lovely. Good. So we'll put that to one side, and of course we'll come to that in a little while. Just pop that on there. Okay, so in our soup we have carrot, celery, green beans, and some peas. We also have chopped onion. So the first thing we're going to start off with is we'll start off with the celery, because it's the easiest one to deal with. I've just trimmed this and washed it. So we always talk about cutting things into manageable sizes, and as you saw there straight away, I used what we call the claw, and that keeps the ends of your fingers completely out of the way of the knife, and it's really important. And take your time with this. It's not something you need to rush. Start with the celery because it's the less challenging of it all. Now, as I said, we need some nice little shapes. So we've got matchsticks now. And what we need to do now is use our knife again with the claw and just cut down. And let's just do some little, these would be like little cubes, okay? Chop it down, moving away all the time. The knife is leaning against my finger. My fingertips are curled underneath, so I'm not going to cut myself. Good, nice little chop, celery. So move that to one end of the board. And what's nice about these sorts of jobs as well is that when it's all on your board, it looks really nice. And I'll be looking for that nice finish that you're going to have on your boards when you're attending one of the classes. Obviously, when you're at home, I'm going to have to take your word for it. Okay, manageable pieces again, really important. Now this is where the next important hole really comes in, and that's the bridge. And you literally bridge your hands over there. Call it a tunnel if you can it makes you remember it better. Okay, lovely. So now we slice down very carefully, and I'm pushing the carrot. I'm holding the carrot together, because obviously if I wasn't using this particular grip, the chances are I could possibly slip with the knife and chop my fingers. So again, got nice slices, and we just put them down into little julienne, which is the French cut. Take that out of the way. And now I'm going to do with these ones, I'm going to cut it at an angle. So I've got like little diamond shapes. Again. So just by changing the position of my knife, the angle of my knife, I can create a new shape. Now you might think, this is such a pedantic way of doing things, but you know, a chef is judged by his skill with the knife, and especially Japanese sushi chefs, it's quite the thing, you know, where the skill of the knife is almost like being a samurai. Concentrating the whole time, using the claw the whole time. There's not a moment with knife work that you don't concentrate, that you're not aware. Okay, so it's really crucial. And the great thing about making this soup is not only makes it a very nice way of packing in your 5 a day for your children or yourself, of course, you know, not liking their vegetables. This is so nice. I mean, that's things like alphabeti spaghetti or animal spaghetti, anything that encourages children to enjoy their food and to enjoy healthy eating. That's what we've got to do, isn't it? That's the aim of everything, and also to show skill. So I'm using the claw again, and of course I'm slicing down these French beans just in little circles, and it's very fine. Now, a good way to start if you come into knife skills for the first time is to perhaps just concentrate on a carrot. So again, we've got the bridge hold, especially important with an onion, because they're round and they're going to wobble around, and you want to be in half. So when you cut an onion, it's crucial that you cut from the root, which is the heavy bit, to the stalk, which is this bit here. Okay, don't cut that way, it has to be this way. Okay, and then cut the stalk, but we leave the root on. And the reason why we leave the root on, I know I'm repeating myself, but I think it's important to repeat until everyone understands why we do these things. The root holds all the layers of the onion together, like so. All goes into that root. So when you're chopping an onion, often people will say, oh, you know, when I chop an onion, I end up chasing it around the board. We don't want to chase it around the board. Also, you'll see there's lines on an onion, which is quite incredible. So we want to cut down those lines. Not exactly on those lines, but we need to they're there to remind us that that's what we want to do. And then we do a little angle cut through that. Logically, it's just because that's the thickest part of the onion. Okay, so, and with the claw, just chop down. And then you end up with this beautiful, and because the root is on, the onion's been held together. And the more efficiently you can chop your onion, the less tears you will have. Okay, we're doing well. We're getting here. As you can already see, we've got a very sort of decorative array of colours, because this soup is all about the colours of Italy, and that's a lovely thing. So we've got garlic. Again, we have the top and tail. This is a clove of garlic. Okay, don't confuse in recipes and use a whole bulb. The bulb of garlic is the whole thing. What we're using is just a clove. So a little chef tip for you: once you've peeled it, put your garlic clove onto salt, put your knife over the top of it and press down. Then chop through it again using the claw. It's all about using the claw. I've been a chef for most of my life, and it was the first thing that I was taught when I was 16. I started off as an apprentice chef in London, how to use a knife correctly. It was quite a painful experience at first with cutting myself. What a lovely way to do garlic, you see. That is now nice and oily and moist, and the bitterness won't be there at all. So that leaves us one thing to do, and that's just to chop up our tomato concasse. I've peeled it, remember, across on the top, into boiling water, about 5 minutes. Take it out of the water and put it into some cold water. And when it's cooled, you can just take the skin off, as I showed you right at the beginning. And then we chop down this tomato beautifully. So I think we have the colours of Italy on there, and now we just have to go into the next process, which is to to cook the soup and finish the soup. So we'll just move everything across, turn a few things on, and get cracking. So move my board over. So in here, this saucepan, you need a tablespoon of oil. Okay, I'm using rapeseed oil here. You can use olive oil, which is equally as nice. But I quite like rapeseed oil. I've got another saucepan on here that I'm going to use for stock. And I need, close by me, my tomato puree. So it's so important, before you start any job, just get all your equipment together. Get everything that you need. Okay, I'm using a vegetable stock there. Tend to be a little bit what I call what's called a flexitarian now, where sort of eat meat once a week. Okay, I find it's really helped with my cholesterol. And later on I'll be doing a lot more videos showing you some incredible dishes just cooking with vegetables and vegetarian products. But that'll be for another day. Whenever we cook, we think about the health implications. And straight away you know that this is a really healthy soup. So we put this into the oil, bring it up to temperature. Don't get the oil really hot and then put it in, because what will happen, if it's too hot, it will burn the onion, and then your soup will have a really weird look. This soup is a broth, so nothing is hidden. That's the point of it. The fact that all that work we put in to chop in and shape in is exactly the reasons why we don't want to burn the soup, because you don't want to ruin that beautiful finish that you have. So we're going to just cook this. We're going to sweat this down, blanch it, cook without colour, whatever the word or term you want to use. It all means the same thing. It means that we cook it so that we get all the natural sugars and that beautiful smell you get, that umami smell you will get from it. Okay, so beautiful. So we get this in here, we sweat it, we're sweating it down. Don't add your tomatoes or your peas until towards the end, because we don't want them to lose colour, overcook or anything like that. So I've just got my little stock on the back, that's fine. That's really good. And the water I'm using for my stock is the water that I used for my tomatoes when I skinned my tomato. About a tablespoonful of tomato puree goes in. Remember, this is an Italian soup. We're looking for the colours of Italy. There we are, lovely. Get that in and cook that off. And you have to be mindful, don't walk away when you're cooking it and leave it. You know, you have everything ready for you in arm's length, so you don't want to be moving around the kitchen all the time, because it will never do. Right, so we've got that. We now add into that, well, let me just show you properly what that looks like. Lovely. Then add into that your stock, like so. Don't add everything in at once. Yeah, because it's all about, gauging the consistency you want. You don't want it too thick, because then it'll be like a casserole. You don't want it too thin. So this is part of the characteristics, and characteristics something we use a lot in food, especially in food science. What is the dish? How does it connect with its origins, its historical influences? Well, as I said, this is an Italian soup, minestrone soup. It has to be the colour of Italy, the Italian flag, all those beautiful warm Mediterranean colours. So I'm breaking the pasta in, and I'm just breaking it into small bits. Just snaps. It's quite a nice thing to do. In that goes. Now that's going to cook for about 10 minutes. And then once that gets to that stage, when the pasta slowly starts to get soften. You'll see it because it will start to appear. And incidentally, I used wholemeal pasta because, again, I'm all about making food as healthy as possible. So the peas have gone in, and now the tomatoes have gone in. Now obviously we don't want this video to go on forever while we wait for the pasta to cook and everything else. So I'll just move that one off to one side, and of course this one I made earlier, and it's really beautiful now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to serve it into this bowl, and when it's in the bowl you're going to see, look at the mess. I'll have to clean that mess, of course. Fortunately got a lovely towel there. So turn that off. So we've got lovely minestrone soup, and you can see everything. I hope you can see that well. Let me move the saucepan out of the way there. Everything fits onto that spoon, and it's actually a really beautiful thing. Now, I said it's an Italian soup. There's one thing missing, isn't there? It can't be an Italian soup without a beautiful, fresh grating of Parmesan cheese. Now, I hope you'll enjoy making this soup. I would suggest initially, if it's your first time to use a knife, I would suggest making a carrot soup. So practice chopping the onions, practice chopping the carrot in all different varieties of sizes, and then just cook that down, and then move on to the greater challenge of your minestrone. Okay. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it's useful, and I'll be back soon with some more. Thank you.